Welcome, everyone. I'm Chad, your host here at Achieving Geekvana, and boy, do I have a treat for us today. I've been waiting all day, stuck in my day job, waiting to see the Superman trailer. I could have watched it any time, but I wanted to wait. I wanted to watch it here with all of you, and boy, have I already seen some good things about it. So I know some people are fired up. I'm sure there are some haters, but we're going to check it out. You know, one of my earliest memories was going to the drive-in theater and seeing this movie with my family. And that was Superman, the movie, 1978, Christopher Reeves. Yes, today it may be a little cheesy, but back then it blew my mind. I was 7 years old, sitting there at the drive-in, having never really seen a superhero movie of that caliber. You know, we had Batman movies and the old serials from the 50s. Not that I was alive in the 50s, but anyways, had seen them on Sunday afternoon shows or whatever it may be. Superman 1978 came along and it blew my mind, as it blew lots of people's minds. You know, as they said, you'll believe a man can fly. And that's really what happened. I don't think superhero movies would have the momentum today if it wasn't for the kickoff that such an impact that movie had on folks. You know, for me, as a fairly new comic collector in 1978, I think I started collecting in 76, 77. Anyways, but for me as a new comic book collector, kid of 7, it was literally like watching the comics right on the screen and watching it come to life in a believable way that it could be happening just down the street and right in real life. It wasn't any longer something that people joked about. It wasn't something that was just for kids. But Superman, the movie, really changed a lot of that in cinema for a lot of people at that time. Now, again, obviously, those movies didn't really age that well over time, but I still think very highly of them and the impact that they had. And I'll always have fond memories of that. For that reason, Christopher Reeves will always be the Superman for me in my life. But that doesn't mean I can't enjoy other people performing as Superman outside of Christopher Reeves. And that's why I'm pretty excited about this new Superman movie. I think we've gone through, just like comics did in the late 80s, 90s, there was this huge push towards more adult themes and taking things down a darker road and trying to elevate the I don't know, for lack of a better word, the chutzpah of a movie to elevate it, to engage adults as well as children, and feeling like it needed to take on a darker theme. I didn't necessarily agree with that, both with comics, although there were some great stories that came from that. The same thing with superhero movies. I think while it works for some, it wasn't necessarily the way to go. And I think that's where the original DCEU kind of fell apart. Was the take in trying to make it a little bit more maybe dark and take it to a place, you know, there's a time and place for those stories. I think right now, culturally, where we're at and everything, escapism is becoming more and more pertinent. We want to feel positive. We want to feel excited. We want to feel hope about our futures. And that is exactly what Superman has done over the years at times when it was most important, whether it was in the comics, whether it was in the movies, whatever it may be. Superman's a symbol of hope. He's a symbol of understanding, empathy, and overall just caring. I'm excited because Superman fills me with hope. Superman is a character that's supposed to be positive, supposed to care about others above all else. Someone who always does the right thing or tries to do the right thing, no matter what. I think people are looking for hope and positivity wherever they can, and I think a new Superman movie can really do that. Just as the 1978 Superman movie, I think, brought a lot of that to the world. And I also think, though, that's where the challenge is for James Gunn, really. You have the expectations that are there of what Superman means to people and sort of what's come before. And one of the things is Superman's always been an overpowered character. He's always had the power to be able to easily tackle most things. And it's only been since what I call the darkening, since the 80s, 90s, that you start to see Superman struggle, whether that is, dying in the 90s and that whole storyline. But also, it also means that in all the stories, they were trying to find ways to ground him. Because one of the things is when you're all powerful, it's very hard to get people invested into a story where the hero can't really be hurt, there's no harm, or there's nothing of challenge for that person to overcome. I think in the 50s, 60s, that was comforting to know that there was somebody out there who could solve all things and fix things. And that was what a superhero was. But I mean, to many people nowadays, heroes overcome massive, massive challenges and they hang in there no matter the cost. They may struggle, they may be hurt, but they continue going until they win the day. And that is really one of the hardest things when you have a hero that has the power level that Superman has, is how do you ground him in a way that people can see in that hero them? You know, when he's all powerful and can overcome anything, it's hard for people to see that. And in today's society, we really want to see ourselves in our heroes. It's not about looking up to a hero to come save the day, but it's about finding within us the hero to help us save ourselves and save our day. And I think that that really nails what people want in a superhero movie. So Superman movies today, that's where James Gunn has his challenge. He's got to be able to find that grounding where Superman can win the day, but also and still have the powers and be the person we recognize and be positive, but also be grounded in a way that we see our own struggles in him. And I think that's where James Gunn has gone with this. You know, just watching the trailers and teasers so far, you know, everybody's like, oh, but Superman's so beaten down and everything. Well, if Superman wasn't, if there was no opportunity for Superman to struggle, it would be harder for us to see ourselves. And personally, you know, while I really enjoyed Henry Cavill's performance as Superman and great, I think part of that story, the challenge was Superman was still identified as someone above, someone better than human, and almost like a religious figure. People were looking up to them to save the day instead of looking within themselves and within who they are. I think where Henry Cavill was about a struggle within a person trying to identify themselves. Are they a hero? Are they just being themselves? Or what happens when society you live in or cultures put you on a pedestal and you can't live up to that. So there were some deep topics there, I think, with Henry Cavill's Superman that with the new Superman are not needed. I shouldn't say are not needed. What I should say, things that are different, things that in the Superman of today, or the one in these teasers and trailers that we're seeing, is one that just goes back to the prime core idea of he wants to help others. He wants to save lives. He wants to be there for people, regardless of what it means for him or his sacrifice. He's just doing what he's been taught, the way he grew up, what he learned from his parents, from his small town values, whatever it may be. But that's the Superman that's here. And to me, that's the Superman that was in comics so much up until about the 80s and 90s when things started to take a little bit different twist. And I think that that's the Superman people are hoping for. And I think that's the Superman we're going to get. Again, the hard part for James Gunn is grounding them in a way that people could connect to that character and also keep it from being too comical, which is going to be a stretch, I think, maybe for James Gunn, maybe not. I don't know. Based on his time with Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, as well as the Guardians of the Galaxy, comedy played a big role. And it doesn't mean comedy can't be part of this. Again, there's a human side to comedy as long as you don't overuse it as you're trying to help people connect to these characters. And so I think James Gunn has a really good understanding and balance of that, even though he's used a lot of comedy in his more recent movies. He can definitely make movies that are meaningful, but also have the comedy just right at the right moments to help add some levity to keep things from getting too dark. And I think, again, that's what we need in this movie. We need something that's full of positivity and hope, but also struggle and challenge and grounding and letting us feel connected to that character. So, well, without further ado, let's jump right into this trailer. I am excited to see it. Just know that that because this is going up on YouTube, I've got to be careful about copyright and things of that nature. So I'm actually going to leave myself rather large on the screen, and the screen showing the trailer is going to be a little bit smaller. So it's a little bit different than what we do on Facebook sometimes. So just be prepared for that. It may also mean that I stop the trailer at certain points. They maybe make some comments or something of that nature. So don't worry if that's the case. So that's just me trying to avoid copyright issues. Okay, so let's jump right in. I'm excited. Can't wait any longer. Love the new DC Bullet, or the old Bullet.
Are you being serious right now?
Yeah.
You'd let me interview you as Superman.
Sure.
Ready?
Let's do it, Cronkite.
Superman.
Miss Lane.
Recently, you've come under a lot of fire for
I
what
know,
some
it's
might.
a lot of fire,
it's a
but-
lot. Today, the Secretary of Defense said he was going to look into your actions. That's funny?
My actions? I stopped a war.
Maybe.
Not maybe. I did.
In effect, you illegally entered a country.
This is how you're gonna be?
I'm not the one being interviewed, Superman. Did you consult with the president?
No.
You seemingly acting as a representative of
I
the
wasn't
United States
representing
will cause
anybody
more
except for me.
problems around the world.
And doing good.
See, that's that part I'm talking about, getting back to the real purpose being more external than internal, or a debate over Messiah or not. It's about just doing good, just saving people.
I would question myself in the same situation and consider the consequences.
People were going to die.
Your choices, your actions. That's what makes you who you are.
And again, that gets back to that humanizing point that I was always talking about, that grounding. You know, our choices and actions define who we are. And that's exactly what he's getting at here. That's true for anyone.
Superman. He's not a man. He's an it. He's somehow become the focal point of the entire world's conversation.
I cleaned your boots. I'll go get them for you.
Oh, yeah.
You have a dog?
He has a dog. Okay. So pretty good at the trailer. They didn't give away a whole lot, did they? We saw a lot of scenes that were part of other trailers and teasers. But I think they did develop a little bit more why people are angry at Superman, or maybe thinking that he's not doing the right things. Seems like there's going to be some brush up here or issues related to, politics and war and the age-old question. I mean, one that's been handled before multiple times in the 90s and 2000s, and that is, Superman, does he represent America? So if he goes over and stops a war or does something that impacts another area of the world, could that be considered an act of war because he lives in the U.S.? Sounds like there's going to be some of that tension, and that's going to be some of the tension between the U.S. or the U.S. government and Superman in this. So not all that different. from topics that have been brought up in some of the more recent movies or even TV shows. But I think that's again, it adds another element of conflict of what's right, what's good, and when your intentions are good, doesn't matter. If you're doing the right thing, should it matter? And I think that's going to be some of the tension I saw in there. The engineer, you saw the girl with the blazer. That's the engineer from the Authority. Authority? Is that right? Maybe. It escapes me now. But anyways, I saw Ultraman, or at least I saw a symbol, the Ultraman symbol, on that black suited guy that was all covered, and he was walking Superman out. Looks like maybe they captured him or something like that. So I doubt that's going to be the Superman from what was it, Earth 3 or whatever. I think it's more likely going to be something that maybe Luthor cloned Superman or in some way tried to clone or make his own Superman. I know, and I know he's in a full body suit and his body is entirely covered. That's because if you don't know, Ultraman has his powers are kind of opposite Superman, where Superman derives energy from the sun. For Ultraman, the yellow sun saps his energy powers. So that's why he's entirely in a suit. And it looked like there were some other villains there. We got to see a little bit more of Metamorpho, not much. And same thing with Hawk Girl, Guy Gardner. But they were all in there. Got to see Crypto at the end. Yay. Probably the biggest marketed dog in the world now, too. But anyways, it was enough to keep me excited. If anything, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of the action battle sequence scenes. There were a lot of things where you saw him fall out of the sky, or he's flying up into the sky, or he's about ready to, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of a battle scene, but without giving away too much. But overall, again, the music, the way it's laid out, I particularly like the way you saw him when he was being interviewed by Lois Lane. You see him actually getting angry because all he wants to do is help people and save people. And now, somebody's telling him that may not be the best thing to do. And so you can almost feel his frustration take that on. I think Lois Lane, I can't think of the actress name right now, but I think she did a fantabulous job of playing that journalist role, that inquisitive, challenging view. I think she has the energy of Lois Lane, very much plays out well in that regard. So I'm excited. I don't know about everybody else. I don't think there's anything in there to hate on. I'm sure some people will find something to hate on, but not me. I'm excited about this coming up July. I'm going to be there. So anyways, thanks for joining me for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the trailer too. And maybe we can talk more about it at the Now This Geek Show this weekend. But anyways, y'all have a great day. And as always, my friends, stay geeky. Stay geeky. Later.